Well, good evening. Want to thank you so much for joining. Well, we're going to go straight into we're talking about the debate, the Jamaica's debate, the second debate of 2025, and it's about to start. As I can see the pundits, and I'm here with Mr. Malik Mohammed. Malik going to join with me tonight, and we're going to be doing a watch party for the event. Malik, how are you? Can you hear me?
Very well, Stillborn. Honored to be with you and your guests, our friends worldwide. An honor to be here.
We're gonna see who's gonna be here tonight, But let's get the ball rolling because we can see that it's starting. Yes.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Let me just get the ball rolling here. 1, 2.
Each team being allowed 90 seconds to respond to each question, and rebuttals are limited to 45 seconds. The questions posed in tonight's debate
Malik, you can hear me, yes?
Two sources. The first source
you can hear everything, yeah?
Send us your questions via direct message on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to Jamaica Debates. These will be checked, selected, and asked by our social media editor. The second source of questions is from our panel of journalists. Questions are not influenced by the Jamaica Debates Commission in any way. Providing sign language interpretation services this evening is Ms. Jane Litchmore, who teaches sign language at an international level and who previously provided sign language services on the former Jamaica Broadcasting Corporation and Television Jamaica, and who also represented the Jamaica Association for the Deaf. Now, based on a previous coin toss, the first question tonight comes from Andrea Chisholm, and it will be directed to Team PNP.
The PNP has promised to move the income tax threshold to $3.5 million starting April 2026 without any new taxes. How much will it cost? Is the timeline realistic? And which programs will be adjusted to accommodate the increase?
Thank you for that question, Andrew. We are committed to implementing the 3.5 threshold starting April 2026. This will be funded from revenue growth, which currently, based on the 1% growth, is projected to generate an additional revenue of $140 billion over a 3-year period. Additionally, we expect within the envelope that exists in the budget has 4 main components. You have debt servicing, you have salaries and wages, you have the capital budget, and then you have the programmatic budget. As a political party, we would have our own priorities, and we will look at the programmatic budget and make adjustments there. But we will begin implementing the 3.5 million threshold April 2026. However, there are other programs that we have announced that once we assume office, we will immediately, within the envelope that exists for programs, see how we will implement them. For example, ensuring that every needy child gets a hot meal per day. The first in family who goes to university to have a full scholarship. And also the $500,000 grant, which will be given to young first-time owners. So we are going to ensure that we do this in a responsible way fiscally without affecting the budget.
Thank you, Team PNP. Thank you, Team JLP, your rebuttal.
Lies, lies, lies. It cannot be done without imposing new taxes on the backs of Jamaicans. Your 3.5 is the biggest political scam since the history of Jamaica. It cannot be done. You were the people who said when we introduced the 1.5 that it couldn't be done. It would wreck the budget. How do you get from 1.5 to 3.5? It's 3.5 now, right? It used to be 2.3, 3.2, all over the place. Can't be done.
All right. Andrew would like to use the first of her 2 follow-up questions.
For Team PNP, I did not hear the cost of the proposed increase in the threshold, nor the programs to be readjusted to accommodate the increase.
The cost of the increase in the threshold would be $55 billion. Now, no political party implements every single thing in 1 year. So we are going to ensure that the implementation is done, which protects the fiscal sacrifices that have been made and will ensure that the adjustments are consistent with the budget. So it's $55 billion that this particular program will cost. And in terms of the readjustment of programs, that is something that we will do once we get into office. When we look, we have priorities which are different from the current government's priorities. And we will make those adjustments within the envelope of $360 billion, which currently exists for programs in the
Thank
budget.
you, Team PNP. Team JLP, you have a rebuttal, 45 seconds.
Well, first of all, I think we have to be careful about what we hear from that side, because they have been flip-flopping on the issue of income tax threshold and for some time. Their leader has said one thing, then he said he wasn't sure, then he said he wants to do another thing. The principle of increasing the threshold is something that is desirable. Let us be clear, because we did it. We were the ones who came with 1.5. We're moving now to 2.0. And indeed, we are the only government that have reduced taxes in several ways to benefit the Jamaican people. The challenge is the practicality of their solution. This is a one-week proposal, a proposal to win
Thank you,
votes,
Team JLP.
which can't work.
Thank you, Team JLP. Al, you get the chance to pose the first question of the evening to Team JLP.
Hello, good evening. How do you do? On Sunday, the JLP promised to reduce income tax to 15% over a phased basis if it secures a third term in government. This is estimated to cost the country around $135 billion. Where will the money come from to accomplish this, considering there is a projected to be a $35 billion deficit in the budget, and given that many people work in the underground economy?
I'm not sure where that number came from. Our number, based on the technocrats who did it, put it at between 25 to $30 billion. That's our number. That is doable. We are the party that did the 1.5 in a responsible way. We are the party that moved the threshold from 1.5 to 1.7 to 1.8. Next year it'll be 1.9 and then 2.0. We know how to handle the tax affairs, the revenue affairs of the country, and we are going to move with this in a responsible way over time, ensuring that we continue to give back to Jamaicans. You've seen us do the reverse income tax. You've seen us do a number of initiatives, all with the goal of ensuring that the Jamaican people get back monies in their pockets so that they can provide more for themselves and their families.
This administration has been very much the administration that's pragmatic. We have always said to Jamaica what can be done, and then we have done it. We did it with 1.5, and we're doing it again with 2.0, and also our other proposal in terms of 15% income tax. We never say what we cannot do, unlike
Thank
our
you, Team
opposition.
JLP. Thank you, Team PNP, your rebuttal. 45 seconds.
I want to remind the country that the 1.5 that they boast about cost the country $31 billion in new taxes implemented by the Jamaica Labour Party. The Minister of Finance is saying her estimate is 25 to 30 billion. She's applying the same pro box maths that she said you can use $2,000 a month for buy a pro box. The most conservative estimate for their program to reduce the income tax rate is $68 billion. So where do you get your maths from? Tell the country, how will you finance it? Which programs will you cut? Where will the money come from?
Thank you, Team PNP. Social media has a question, Amoy.
Thank you, George. Well, the first social media question tonight comes from Makeda on Instagram. Jamaicans both at home and abroad work tirelessly to support their families and contribute to our economy. Yet high taxes and fees on barrels at the wharf, along with frustrating processes, make it difficult and costly for people sending goods home. If selected to serve, what specific and measurable actions will your party take to reduce these costs and simplify these processes?
Team PNP, 90 seconds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We note that we note the developments in the US and other territories as it relates to remittances, and we're observing the situation. We also note that for Jamaicans going to pick up money at agencies, the cost may increase. And that's why we want to encourage the opening of accounts, and with reduced due diligence requirements for these types of accounts, we think more Jamaicans should exercise that option. I think also, though, we want to take a deeper look at the fact that we're so reliant on remittances. At least 20% of our GDP is based on remittances. We need to find a way in the best interest of Jamaicans to have them earn more. And that's why Team PNP is looking at options to have our economy grow. We're looking at options in agriculture with the Agricultural Development Fund of 2.5 billion, where we want to teach our farmers smarter and more efficient ways to go about farming. We're looking at options in logistics. Given our position, we're ideally placed to offer logistic and trade facilitation. We also want to look at our BPOs and increase the value of the services that are offered through our BPOs by upskilling our workforce and training our young people in heart, etc., to do these things, which are the careers of the future, and not to stick to the careers that now exist.
Team JLP, your 90 seconds, well, your 45, well, your rebuttal.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure if we heard the same question. I heard a question that was about or Jamaicans having to clear barrels at the port. And that has been a concern.
Sorry, Malik, were you hearing a feedback? Sorry, I can't hear it. Were you hearing you're on mute. You're on mute, Malik.
Yes, very slightly. Hear a feedback, very slightly.
Okay, all right. Don't worry. I'll sort it out. We'll just play. I'll sort it out in the background.
Yeah, man, it's fine.
Give us a few minutes.
Or some of our Jamaicans who do rely on their families overseas to help them. And we, as a country, have always benefited from our diaspora. And that's why we've placed so much emphasis on our diaspora policy through our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That has been very important. And on that matter, we have focused very much on creating efficiencies at the port. And that's important because we understand that we have a larger vision of Jamaica of becoming a logistics hub. We know that this can happen. It is something that the PNP waxed quite well about, this logistics hub, but did nothing. We have been doing work to expand our port, to also improve efficiencies at the port. In addition to that, we have a new Customs Act. We didn't get to the Senate with it, but we took it through the House, which transforms a lot of the framework for our customs area. And so we are working. We understand the plight of our Jamaicans who depend on these. In terms of remittances, that's another area that's very, very important. And we have been doing a lot of our own lobbying in relation to remittances. We've not seen any fall off. We're very happy with our diaspora, and we'll continue to make it easy for our people to benefit.
Time. Thank you very much. We'll now take a short break and invite you to stay tuned.
The general elections debates are presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. Watch, listen.
Okay, what's your take on this so far?
Well, thus far, Silvan, I was taking some notes here as we were watching it together. And so far, I'm sensing that the JLP delegation is simply throwing stones rather than dealing with particular issues. Julian Robinson's expertise and understanding of the figures is very, very clear.
Yes.
So, for instance, when the question was asked, the opening question, he was very clear in saying the 1% growth, the 140 billion over 3 years, giving the 4 areas, looking at the pragmatic budgets and explaining how within the 360 billion current threshold, that is where the cut will be made, etc. And so I'm finding that Phil Williams has no idea what she's talking about. So, for
Yes.
instance, when she was rebutting, her opening line was, and I quote,
Lie.
"It's lies." Now,
Yeah. That doesn't sound like the right way to,
no,
to come in
no,
on a debate.
no, no, no.
It's not like you're on a platform. That's like you're on a platform or something like that.
Is the
Yeah.
point I'm making. And what I found
Mm.
intriguing was even though she said lies, 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 when Dana Morris Dixon came on, she endorsed the information that was in the pamphlet. So that was a
Yes.
conflict within the same team.
Yeah.
Subtle, but very clear. So, and even the way Keisha Anderson dealt with the fact of the remittances and the situation with the clearing barrels at the wharf.
Yes.
And she used the opportunity to give context. For example, remittances being 20% of GDP
Mm.
currently, the impact on real Jamaicans. I thought that so far the PNP is dealing with the issues in a very clear way,
Yes.
using sound bites to make it
Mm.
relevant to average Jamaicans and making complex situations very clear, as exemplified by Julian Robinson. What do you
Well,
think so far?
well, so far, I mean, I was just trying to sort out some of the technical bits at the same time, which I got sorted out because I want to say, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say welcome to those coming. Nat Bro, I saw you on Instagram there. I know a few people on the YouTube as well and on Facebook. I'm with Malik Mohammed and we are just doing a watch party during the midnight hour, the duppy dog shift. Duppy dog shift. I must say that I'm sort of open-minded at this present moment, and this is just like the start of the whole process. I can see it's a more seasoned, if anything, JLP team, which is there. I'm more of a heavyweight who is there tonight. So, well, at the same time, they were heavyweight at the last one. Those two person were heavyweight. Pernell and Kamina Johnson Smith, they were heavyweight. So we watch his space and see how it unfolds. Super Nick is saying Keisha could have done better by addressing the diaspora. She allowed Dixon to put her on the back foot. Keisha Anderson, that's a new lady there, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we watch your space in the meantime, and ladies and gentlemen, feel free to give your comments. I did a little straw poll earlier on TikTok by saying who is going to win. I just said who is going to win the debate, and of course the pundits are the same. PNP was a PNP, JLP was a JLP, and I just excited. I said I'm so glad that there has been this interaction. But here we go back to watch the next match. Okay, ladies
Yes.
and gentlemen. Yeah.
Scotiabank for every future. Kendall.
It's gonna be lots. It's gonna be everybody is making sure they get the commercial in.
Have to. But Silbon, what I find intriguing is that these opportunities, when it comes to debates, it gives us an opportunity just to hear the essence of where our party stands. And we're back.
We're back.
The economy debate presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. We invite you, the public, to send us your questions via direct message on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Send them to Jamaica Debates. Well, we now ask Andrea Chisholm to start this segment with a question for Team JLP.
The public sector wage bill consumes close to 50% of tax revenues. The Independent Fiscal Commission has recommended the reintroduction of a cap on public sector wages as a percentage of GDP. But in March, the Standing Finance Committee of Parliament was told the cap was not being considered. Why was the recommendation ignored?
For the public sector wages, I know when you look back in history, there used to be, it calculated as a percentage of GDP. With our current fiscal rules and our debt to GDP rule, those are the two kind of guardrails that we use on the budget to keep everything in line. If we do that, if we keep that focus on our debt to GDP and on our fiscal balance, then everything in the budget will align, and it would not be necessary, it has not been necessary to keep a cap on the wage bill that way as a percentage of GDP. And as a matter of fact, one time in our history, it was done. When you look back, maybe it was only one time that ratio was ever reached. So there's good faith and confidence in the fiscal balance rules and the debt to GDP in order to help us to keep everything in line in the budget.
Can I also quickly say that this government has done the boldest move to reform and restructure the public sector. First of all, we had 300 different salaries packages, 180 different allowances were consolidated into 16, and it has taken time. We need that time to sort that out.
Jamaica's tax burden at 29% of GDP is the highest in the region. Our middle class has been hollowed out by a generation of belt tightening. It is time that our nurses, our teachers, our police officers, our public servants get to enjoy some of the benefits of years of tight fiscal management. It can't always be that when it comes time for the people to benefit, we are talking about managing fiscal rules, etc. We will observe the fiscal rules, but we believe we must do a social transformation for the people.
Time. Thank you very much. Question for Team PNP, Al.
Are they saying time come, Malik? Are they saying time?
The high interest rate
time come?
FinSec era was devastating for the Jamaican economy.
Repeat.
The World Bank debt management paper dated 21/12/2001 reads in part, the ensuing rapid growth of FinSec debt worsened as interest rates continued to rise, leading to a stock debt of $142 billion as of March 2001. That's about 43% of GDP. This added to an already large pre-crisis public debt burden of more than 100% of GDP, leading to an unsustainable debt path. That period also decimated a generation of local entrepreneurs, so much so that a generation later, many are still reticent to invest in the productive sector. What guarantee can you give under your administration that Jamaica will never see history repeating itself, and how do you intend to honor that guarantee?
Well, what we have to ensure is that the agencies that have responsibility for managing and regulating the financial services sector are actually manned by individuals who are competent and professional. The Bank of Jamaica, the Financial Services Commission, ensuring the BOJ now is an independent agency that has the responsibility for managing interest rates and primarily inflation. At the time when FinSac took place, the government intervened to ensure that all depositors got back their money. What we want to see is the FinSac report published. The country spent $150 million on a FinSac commission, and all know we can't get the report. We want the FinSac report out. And while you're at it, we will publish the SSL report because we noticed that depositors have gotten $2. If them did have $100 and there's only $2 them get back. But the most honorable Prime Minister got all his money out of SSL before it collapsed. That is what justice means. We will publish the SSL report, and it is a failure on their part that after all these years, given the impact of FinSac, that there is no report, no independent report. What we have seen is drips and drabs being leaked out by that side. So when we talk about FinSac, let's get all the facts on the table and release the Kroll report from SSL.
Time up.
Interesting that that side can speak as if they're ignorant of FinSac, when some on that very side were involved during the FinSac period and benefited. Just recall the 40-40-40. You mentioned it. 40% of GDP to recover from FinSac. 40,000 businesses lost their money. 40% being offered by merchant banks to make a profit. And DB&G made on average 40% return on their investments, which one of the principals sits across me right here. They cannot talk about fiscal discipline. They cannot talk about management and economy. They presided over the FinSac era. They drove people in some instances to commit suicide based on news reports. They have no moral authority and certainly no economic management, and they are still there. The Jamaican people cannot trust them.
Thank you, Time. Al, you wanted to use one of your two follow-up questions?
The first one, yes.
Proceed.
The JLP government has presided over macroeconomic stability. Public debt has come from over 140% of GDP in 2013 to 70% in fiscal year 24-25. Unemployment now stands at just 3.3%. According to Statin, as of July this year, Jamaica's annual headline inflation rate stood at 3.3%. The Bank of Jamaica says as of August 12, 2025, Jamaica's gross international reserves stood at US 6.2 billion. The World Bank, the IMF, the rating agencies all commend Jamaica for this economic performance. How will a PNP government build upon and improve this trajectory?
I think it's important to set context for the question that you have asked. When they left office in 2011, the country was on the precipice of economic collapse. When we got in 2012, we had to restore Jamaica's credibility. We had to establish EPOC. We strengthened and enhanced the fiscal rules. We legislated the debt to GDP ratio so that any government, PMP or JLP, had to pay down that debt. Portia Simpson Miller and Peter Phillips started that race. We passed the baton. We are the persons responsible for the fiscal responsibility that exists today, and we will continue that when we get into office again.
Time, thank you. The Team JLP, you have 45 seconds to rebut. Right?
I am so glad that you named all of those improvements that we've had in our economy. When the PNP was in government, they took a wrecking ball to our economy, and that's a fact. When we took office 9 years ago, we saw high unemployment, we saw high debt, we saw high crime too, and we saw failing infrastructure. And this administration got to working on all of those areas. The PNP does not know how to be fiscally responsible. And we have seen that in our history time and time again. And so the data is there. The data shows the Jamaica Labour Party knows how to do it.
Time. Let's take a question from social media. Amoy?
Well, George, this question comes from Facebook. Nikisha is asking, many schools are without basic resources, and as such, some schools are asking parents to contribute certain resources, whether it be in cash or kind. Seeing that economically, parents are struggling to pay school fees and meet other needs, how will your administration, if elected, resolve this issue so there will be an ease on parents' pockets?
Team JLP?
Thank you for that question, and we definitely understand the burden that a lot of our parents feel. And it is for that reason that we have focused quite a bit on how we can get our children to school. Let me give you some realities from going around to our schools, especially in rural areas. When I go to school on a Friday, classes are sometimes half empty. And when you ask our teachers why, they say money ran out. What keeps them at home? High transportation costs, and also the high cost of lunch. And that's what we have decided to focus on. The rural school bus system is precisely because of that. I had one mother in St. Thomas say to me, it costs her $1,200 a day to send one of her children to school, and that it is so expensive that she ends up having to choose which one goes to school sometimes. We cannot have a country like that. In addition to that, in terms of our meals, we have expanded meals to 5 days a week for those on PAP who need it the most. In addition to that, we're now going to be adding breakfast to our students in our schools that are the most underperforming. All of that on the backs of the hard work of Minister Williams and the Ministry of Finance team. We understand the costs, and we're working hard, including in providing more books in the public sector so that our parents can have less of a burden.
Time. Team PNP, your 90 seconds.
Chris, you're correct that DBNG was a very successful company. And it was a publicly listed company that our audited financial statements were open to the public. So everyone knows where Peter Bunting and Mark Golding got their wealth from. You and your prime minister cannot say the same. Now, in terms of our arrangements for public transportation, particularly rural school transportation, that school bus system was a political gimmick. We cannot be buying new trucks to transport garbage, and we're buying 15-year-old buses to transport our most precious cargo, our children. That was just an opportunity for somebody to eat a food. Let us be clear about that. It was totally unsuitable. In deep rural communities, we cannot afford parallel transportation systems, a school bus and a system for adults. So what we have proposed is a subsidy of 10,000 per month per child for those parents who need it, for those children who are unable to attend school 5 days a week. What we have proposed is a hot meal every day for those children who need it. That is real progress.
I'm surprised too, Peter, that the Minister of Education is speaking as if she didn't know all of this.
Time. Andrea, your question for Team JLP.
The requirement for a 12-year experience in law enforcement was removed from the January 2025 job advertisement for the position of Chief Technical Director of the Financial Investigations Division. Why was the law enforcement requirement removed?
I want to make it clear that on the job description for the head of the FID, there are a number of different qualifications that an applicant could have. There were at least 6 different skill sets that applicant could have. When the whole process of going through recruiting was done outside of the Ministry of Finance and the Public Service, and they went through a very public recruitment process. The job was advertised, interviewed. No one qualified to be accepted. Normally, in the course of advertising for jobs, if you go out once, if you go out twice, and you see that you're not getting the skill set, the particular skill set, and the job description allows you to be flexible, then obviously, as a responsible HR person looking to fill the position, then you would do that. That is what was done. There's nothing underhanded about it. It was all transparent. And we have a very competent person heading the FID currently. And I look forward to continue working with him.
Team PNP, your rebuttal.
This is not true. I know as a certain fact that senior police officers with investigative experience for many years, who have coordinated international investigations, who have headed the intelligence bureau, they applied for the job and they were turned down. The truth of the matter is it was a set hand. Dennis Chung applied for the job when he said he saw nothing wrong with in the Integrity Commission report. There were clear red flags for money laundering, cash from undisclosed depositors deposited to the Prime Minister's personal account, 470 billion flowing through multiple accounts. That's called layering. These were clear red flags.
Thank you very much. Time. Al, your question for Team PNP.
A look at MSMEs. Many people looking to fund the business in Jamaica bemoan the strangulating red tape and lack of access to finance from lending institutions. In the new century, we're seeing the rise of new types of businesses, young people into digital technology, the creative and services sector. Harold Davis of Jamaica Business Development Corporation makes the point that access to finance has 2 sides of the coin, and that it's appropriateness of the financial product that is available. And when I say appropriateness, I speak of the product that is right for the particular industry or the particular stage of business of the entrepreneur. What will you do to address this and better help small businesses in Jamaica?
We wholeheartedly agree. As a matter of fact, as a former CEO of a financial institution in Jamaica, I can say it's a problem that we struggled with in the absence of government having adequate policy and facilities to make it happen. We will, as the next PNP administration, ensure that we revisit the loan processes for our MSMEs. We recognize that they're an important part of the engine of growth for the economy, and we recognize their struggles. We note that we would have to help them with some amount of business planning. We'd have to help them to get themselves ready to borrow. But it is a win-win situation. When they borrow, they are able to grow. When they grow, they're able to contribute to the economy, and we will be able to get tax revenues from them. So it's very important for us to have our MSMEs grow, and to also encourage young entrepreneurs in the economy to participate.
What we are going to do is remove income tax for MSMEs for the first 3 years. Why are we doing this? The reason MSMEs remain informal is because they don't want to pay tax. But remaining informal limits their growth because they can only get money from friends and families and a partner draw. So by removing the income tax for the first 3 years, they can formalize, they can grow, they can access bank, equity funding. That is what we are doing to grow the MSME sector.
Time. Thank you. Thank you, Team JLP. Your rebuttal.
PNP talks a good talk, but in reality, that's not the fact. 2015, 8,000 companies were registered with the Company Office. 2024, 23,000 companies, twice that number. The fact is, Jamaicans are more energized to form companies, to come out of the informal sector. DBJ over that 8-year period loaned almost $70 billion US, 117 billion of investments, 86,000 applicants. That is why our economy has started to turn around. And I want to say to Peter that he must be careful about innuendos, hearsays, and propaganda. First of all, your FinSAC era, I don't know how you're comfortable with it. The Contractor General at the time accused you of sweetheart dealings, you and your partners.
Time,
you cannot
thank you. Time,
now
time,
say
thank
that
you.
you earn your
Time,
money
time.
in a way
Mr.
that is
Thompson,
legitimate and
time,
above board.
Time. Amoy had a question from social media.
This question is from TikTok. The user who sent in this question is Camer Jackson. Under the current administration, brain drain has become an increasingly pressing issue, negatively impacting our economy. Considering the various causes of this trend, such as limited employment opportunities, inadequate compensation, and governance concerns, what specific strategies and reforms would your government implement to address the key drivers of this problem and ensure the retention of skilled professionals?
Team JLP.
Thank you very much for that question, Cameron Jackson. That area of brain drain has been an issue for a long time. I saw it. I left university in 2001, and most of my classmates left this country because they didn't feel there was an opportunity. And it's for that reason why we focused a lot of our policies. And if you look in our manifesto, there's a huge section for young people, because we believe in a few things. We believe that every young person, as they've told us, wants to own a home one day. And that's why we have allocated 15% of every NHT house built to our young people who are under 35. We're also increasing employment. 280,000 more young people have been brought into the labor force. We're providing jobs, and we're looking for higher paying ones through the work that we're doing in terms of training our people. 500,000 young people have been trained since 2020 at Heart, and we're going to continue doing that.
In addition to that, let me remind Jamaica that it is this government that has brought unemployment to its lowest level ever. In fact, the participation rate in the job market is 68%, the highest it has ever been. Under their watch, people lost jobs. They borrowed and spent, or tax and spent. Under this government, no new taxes, and jobs have been created. This is a more responsible government, and the future of young people are brighter with the JLP.
Thank you. Team PNP, your 90 seconds to answer the question.
Raising the tax threshold to 3.5 million, the tax-free threshold to 3.5 million, is one of the most fundamental and revolutionary things we can do to retain our best and brightest. As I said, this is a manifesto that we've put forward, not just about a campaign for the next election. This is about the next generation. We want to ensure that our teachers, our nurses, our police officers can provide for their families in the way they should. We want to rebuild the working class and the middle class. We want to ensure that buying a house, buying a car, aspiring to improve, to lift your whole generation is not merely a dream. So yes, what we have proposed is radical. It's transformational. It's going to require a shaking up and a reordering of all the priorities of government. That's not accidental. We're working for a social revolution. People are not going to elect a new government to do the same thing that the outgoing one is elected to do.
When I hear them speak, I wonder which young people they're speaking about. When I speak to young people, they tell me they have no hope of owning a home. With the NHT limit being raised to 9 million, the problem is that the houses cost 40 million. There's no hope.
Time, Mr. Sanders, time. We now take a short break and invite you to stay tuned.
The general elections debates are presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. Watch, listen, decide.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, sir.
You go first.
This reminds me, I don't know whether any of our viewers are betting people, but this reminds me of when you're watching a very good race that came on a spark, and the horse that was in the background is starting to gather momentum at the halfway line. I'm referring here specifically to the way Tufton annihilated the PNP on the financial side of things. When he was talking specifically about the SMEs, I thought Tufton's rebuttal was very strong, and he came with facts and figures, the 117 billion, etc., in terms of investments. I thought that was very, very clear and well informed. My concern here so far, Silvan, has to do with Faye Williams. She seems to be genuinely out of her depth, I don't know whether it is.
And ladies and gentlemen, she is the Minister of Finance. Yes.
Yeah. I don't know whether she is out of her depth in terms of nervous or not au fait with the facts, but she does not seem to be leading on the financial questions in the same way, for example, as Julian Robinson. If it mentions figures, he's right up in there. It seems as though Tufton is the savior of the day in that regard. He has information, he has a more robust approach, and I'm not critiquing Faye Williams based on her demeanor, because her strength, her wisdom is very clear. But the way she's appearing to represent the lack of information in the financial sector is worrying, to say the least, at this stage.
Is it that a person like Faye Williams is those technocrats who are good on the papers in the background, but not so good on delivery at the front end? Could it be that?
I genuinely believe that, because she's a brilliant woman.
Yes, that's what I understand as well. Yes.
Yes, it's just that it's not coming across in this forum, and this is the platform that matters. We are days away from a major election, and this is not the time to cower or wonder whether the right person is playing the right position.
Yeah. I don't know if any viewers have any position, what you want to say, indicating so far as to your views as to the debate. I'm now LinkedIn also now. We've got 16 persons on TikTok watching. Well, I guess they're only watching me because they only can see my face, but they can hear in the background. And also those on Instagram as well. And I see a couple of persons in the UK here. And now I got in bed. I'm gonna stay up. I watch Duppy hours, Belinda Ginn. I've got Super Nick, I got Nicole Christie. Welcome and thank you so much. It is very interesting how they went on the whole FinSac bit there. And you wonder, FinSac seemed to be this elephant in the room somehow.
Exactly, right? And the $2 reimbursement from the SSL situation there, I noticed how rather quiet the JLP was in responding to that.
Yes.
And how the FinSac was being used as a beating stick. That as an answer, it didn't come across and it didn't bode very well. Bearing in mind, of course, I am a tad biased because Usain Bolt is from Trelawney. And as a Trelawney man myself, and I know you're a Ochi man still.
Ochi man, right? Straight out of Ochi, yes.
yeah. It's just that it rankles me a little bit to realize how factually that whole situation has been handled. and it doesn't bode well for us as a country moving forward, you know?
Yeah, it is very interesting and to watch how the debate unfold. But you can see that here we go, ladies and
Oh,
gentlemen. We'll just go back
catch
to
it.
the
Mm.
studio. Yeah.
Invite you, the public, to send us your questions via direct message on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Send them to Jamaica Debates. We'll now ask Andrea to start this segment with a question for Team PNP.
The PNP has described the
Can you hear Malik?
No.
Oh, well, some people.
We
Time.
remain
Time.
committed
Thank
to
you.
the public
Time.
sector
Time.
workers.
Time. Mrs. Williams. Time. Thank you. Al, your question to Team JLP.
In fiscal year 2013-14, the then Minister of Finance, Peter Phillips, balanced the budget. Minister Phillips met the targets for the primary surplus and the budget deficit. The JLP said at the time, including you, Minister Williams, that the then PNP government was preoccupied with passing the IMF test and not the people's test. Can it be said of this JLP administration that it is preoccupied with reducing the debt instead of growing the economy and passing the people's test?
We are passing the people's tests. If you look at what we have done, what we have achieved, all that we have achieved, we have done it for the people of Jamaica. Look at roads, look at new jobs created, look at the level of inflation, look at the number of houses that are being built. We are going gangbusters. Every day we wake up, it is to grow the economy. During our administration, we have grown the economy. We have had 33 quarters of growth, interrupted only by COVID and by Hurricane Beryl. We wake up every day to ensure that this economy expands so that there are opportunities for our men and women in the society.
When we speak of the people's test, all these nice economic jargon about GDP and debt to GDP ratio and all of that don't mean anything to the ordinary person, to most of our Jamaicans. What they think about is how is everything that we're doing affecting the quality of their life. We're giving more water. 350,000 more people have water, 280,000 more jobs created. We are improving the quality of life of our people.
Team PNP, your rebuttal.
What I want to ask every Jamaican, is your life better? Can you afford the same things you used to be able to afford? Do you have to choose between paying your utilities, buying food, or buying medication? Is your life better?
The lived reality, notwithstanding the macroeconomic numbers of most Jamaicans, is a struggle to put food on the table. When you go to the supermarket or the corner shop, you pick up things and you have to put it back down. If you suffer the misfortune of going to a hospital, you have to sit down on one chair for 2 or 3 days. And what we have seen at Cornwall Regional, it moved from 1.5 billion to 25 billion. That is the waste that we will eliminate so we can put money back in the hands of the Jamaican
Thank you very
people.
much. Al would like to use this second and final follow-up question. Al.
According to the World Bank, the Jamaican economy average annual growth over the last decade is around 0.8%. Why is this? And what will you do to get it to around 5%?
Thanks for that question. Thanks for that question on growth. There have been many impediments to growth, and we have seen that documented in many places. If we look at the impediments, they include training, and we're doing that, 500,000 trained. Another impediment to growth is the high electricity cost, and we have taken the decision to not continue on that bad JPS contract because we know we need to have lower electricity costs. In addition to that, infrastructure is another impediment to growth. And that's why we've spent so much money on fixing our roads, providing internet access across this country, and improving our investments in technology. We understand that in order to bring the growth rate up, we are going to have to do these things.
You have 45 seconds.
What they haven't spoken about is how corruption has impacted that growth. How our foreign direct investment has moved from 900 million in 2015 to 300 million today. That 11 of them are under investigation for illicit enrichment. I, Julian J. Robinson, can categorically state, I am not under investigation. Can the three of you say that? We need growth. We understand the assignment now. We have consolidated our economy. We have to improve the outcomes in education, which have been poor. You talk about energy. It took you 8 years to put out a request for a proposal for renewables. Why? Because of the corruption at the Ministry of Education, where you see 4 ministers over 8 years.
Time. Thank you. Social media, Amoy.
All right, so we're on TikTok, and I'm seeing a question here from Joe. Policies often target low-income earners, while high-income earners are generally believed to be able to manage on their own. What in your plans directly supports middle-income Jamaicans who are caught in the squeeze?
Team PNP.
So the contrast between the JLP's approach of reducing the income tax rate for everyone versus the PNP's approach of lifting the threshold is a prime example of that. The cabinet ministers and the prime ministers will benefit the most from the reduction in the rate of income tax. Police officers, nurses, doctors, security guards, public servants, those who are at the rank and file of the police level, everyone who earns under 3.5 million will be the major beneficiaries of our program. That is what differentiates our approach from theirs. They talk about prosperity. It's prosperity for them and their cronies. When we talk about putting people at the center of our policies and programs, it's because we want to lift everyone. We want to lift those at the bottom. We want to build out the middle class. We want education to become a bridge from one generation to another to move them to another level in society.
And we will continue to lift the standards of the majority of the Jamaican people. The income tax threshold, we're going to remove tax on overtime so that our security guards, our nurses will get a break and you put more money in their pockets.
Thank you, Mr. Robinson. Team JLP.
The PNP does not understand how the economy works. First of all, they talk about our performance. Our performance we're very proud of. We created the lowest poverty rate in the country on record. We created more jobs with more participation in the economy on record. And while we're doing that, we are building out new industries in digital technology, in our port facilities, for logistics hub, as well as maintaining and building on the traditional industries that are there. Most persons in Jamaica today, young persons who have a skill, can find a job. That was not the case under the People's National Party. And I want to just come back to this issue of corruption, because they seem to think that they can speak about things in mid-air without any evidence, innuendos and suppositions, as if people are going to accept that. What the Jamaican people want is who is going to look after them, who will bring down crime. Peter Bunting depended on divine intervention without work. In fact, he is on record, I believe, as the only Minister of National Security who was unable to secure himself. And I am happy he's okay from that unfortunate incident in Portland. But it speaks to confidence in their policy to reduce crime. This government has reduced crime by 30, the lowest over 30 years. And this is what Jamaicans want. They felt unsafe under the PNP. They feel a lot safer under the Jamaica Labour Party.
Mr. Tufton, thank you. Time. We now take a short break and invite you to stay tuned.
The general elections debates are presented by the Jamaica Debates Commission. What?
I want to say that earlier today there was a slight glitch. I think I pressed mute on the wrong mic, Malik. So there was a slight glitch there.
Good, man. At least viewers know that we're live.
We know that we're actually. I could see who was there. I could see that person was listening. I noticed George Davis. Each time he said time. It's like he wanted to say time come. I don't know. It sounds like he still want to say time come. Anyway,
I think it's a little bias there.
Yes, it's interesting that he's there, because I understand that the PNP had objection to any persons from NNN nationwide to be on the panel, and it's very interesting. But I think he crosses between nationwide and CVM. I think George Davis does. Someone said something, and I was writing it down, but I didn't get the voice. I think it was Dr. Morrison Dixon, not Keisha Anderson, who slammed terms like GDP, and people don't want to know that. Do you remember who said that? Who said that? Anybody remember who said those words?
Yeah. As I recall, it was Favour Williams when she was asked about passing the people's test, or whether it was the focus was on lowering the GDP, and the implication was that she was not concerned about what the people had to say, or the popularity contest. It was more about making sure that the GDP was brought lower down, more on the financial part of things. And this, to me, speaks to another example of the clash between Dr. Dixon's understanding of the economy and Mrs. Williams' understanding of the economy. Because when the question was asked about whether she was concerned about passing the people's test, she didn't answer it. Dr. Dixon jumped in again to answer the question, which is another example of where the finance minister doesn't seem to be able to convey the facts in this particular arena.
So we are saying on the government side, it is looking like a two this time. Before the last time, they say it was one. Oh, somebody said they can't hear. Who said they can't hear? Can everybody hear? Can everybody hear us clearly? You're not supposed to hear anything on the debate, because that is on commercial. If anyone can hear, persons on TikTok, you can hear as well. I think the person that I'm talking about is someone said we don't need to know. People don't need to know about GDP and all those sort of things. They need to know about money, food going into their belly, etc. But I think this is an opportunity at the same time. Do you see like anyone conveying their sentiments to the people of Jamaica, or just trying to win a debate?
Well, interestingly, when Keisha Anderson looked into the camera and asked the
Yes.
question, is your life better? I thought that was a very powerful way of connecting with Jamaicans, because this is truly what matters. When Julian Robinson spoke about going to the hospital and having to wait, these are real issues that affect Jamaicans in everyday living. And so,
Yes.
sort of personal touch to show how voting for the PNP would benefit. I thought that was a masterstroke. I have
Yes.
not seen that personal connection so far
Mm.
on the JLP side. However, the debate isn't finished yet. You know?
Yes, yes, that's very interesting because are we okay? I just realized I got nearly 50 persons on TikTok as well
Yes.
here
Okay,
listening
okay.
to the awesome voice of Malik Mohammed, because that's what they're trying to hear. They're trying to hear Malik Mohammed, who is my sidekick here tonight, this
No, man.
morning, early in the morning here as
Thank
we
you for being with us, everybody.
okay, here we go back to
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
the show.
To
Yes.
send us your questions via direct message on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Send them to Jamaica Debates. We now ask Andrea to start the final segment, with a question for Team JLP.
The central bank has cut its policy interest rate from 7% in July 2024 to 5.75% in August 2025. The regulator has been pleading with the banks, the commercial banks, to further reduce lending rates, but it's not happening fast enough. What will your administration do to further pressure banks to cut their lending rates?
So we are seeing interest rates come down, and we're getting early signs that the rates to borrowers is also coming down. Just recently, I was speaking to the DBJ. You know that the DBJ lends to the banks to lend to our MSMEs, and DBJ reported that they are seeing lower rates in the marketplace from banks. As the Bank of Jamaica bring rates down, which it will, we fully expect that our borrowers are going to begin to see lower rates in the marketplace on the various loans.
I think that the reforms that are taking place within the banking sector, the independent central bank, which has to drive this issue. That's why we supported the independence of the central bank and competition. What we have been working on, but I do agree we need to work on it more, and this is for the next administration, is to make it easier for someone to move their account from one bank to the next. We believe ultimately in the market, within reason, of course, with a regulatory framework, not like them who allowed an attempt at liberalization that drove us into FinSA.
Thank you, Team PNP, your rebuttal.
Before the break, Chris had the gall of claiming success with crime. The fact is that more Jamaicans have been murdered under this JLP administration, almost 13,000 murdered in their 2 terms than in any other 2 terms in the history of Jamaica. That is failure, not success. We commend the police for the job they've been doing this year in reducing it, but you can't take credit for that. That's despite your failed SOE policies.
What we will do to ensure that the banking sector is more competitive, we are going to ensure government deposits. There's a system to ensure that all banks participate in government deposits.
Thank you. Al, I invite you to pose a question to Team PNP.
The former CEO of Grace Kennedy, the late Don Webby, consistently called on Jamaica to reduce its food importation bill by half by 2030. Given that Jamaica spends around $1 billion a year on imported food, and according to the FAO, Jamaica's food imports account for approximately 21% of its total merchandise imports, what will your government be doing to reduce the food importation in a meaningful way?
Under the JLP administration, the imported food cost has doubled. It was $800 million US 10 years ago. It is now $1.6 billion. that 800 million US dollars, or about 150 billion Jamaican dollars, should be going into the pockets of the farmers of South Manchester, South St. Elizabeth, and farmers all over Jamaica. We have committed to forming an agricultural development fund. This is going to ensure that we inject new technology, new machinery into our farming communities. It's going to ensure that we put adequate post-harvest storage and processing facilities in place to reduce the 30% or more that's lost. We are going to ensure that funding is available for our farmers.
And we commit to the Jamaican people and to the farmers of Jamaica to reduce importation by 25% in our first term. We also commit to helping farmers access financing at more affordable rates and terms. We also commit to helping them with products such as insurance to ensure that when natural disasters hit, the impact to them for recovery is not as high.
Team GLP, your
First of all, there is a need to do more to develop our local industry for self-sufficiency, but also for export. The fact is this government has done a lot. In fact, if you look at the last 8 years on domestic export has gone up by some 31%. What it means is that more local companies within a much friendlier environment are in fact producing and exporting. But it is a fact that we are importing more at the same time. That is simple. We have an economy that affords the capacity to demand more. We have a thriving tourism industry and we have a consumer who is earning more. This will contribute to a greater demand. It's a process, but it's also a sign of success by this government.
Thank you. Andrea, I invite you to pose a question to Team JLP.
Major platforms such as Meta, Google, and TikTok are earning money and data from the Jamaican economy, but they are not paying taxes in Jamaica. What policy changes will your administration pursue to ensure that Jamaica directly collects taxes from these platforms?
So we recognize that those companies that you mentioned are not paying tax to the Jamaican government. We have our tax entities in conversation with these entities to ensure that the Jamaican people get their fair share of taxes from these companies. We sit on some of the international bodies that look at taxes across different countries to ensure that there's fairness in what's being done. And I know that we will pursue it vigorously to ensure that Jamaica is not left out as these companies thrive on our data.
What's important to also note is that a lot of our young people are using these platforms. I know recently I saw someone on TikTok selling some nice products that I thought about buying. So our young people are using these platforms very well and they're creating content that is absolutely amazing. And so we have the tax side that the minister has said that we're looking at in a more multilateral kind of approach, as we tend to do as Jamaicans. But also, there are also other concerns too in relation to artificial intelligence. They're using a lot of our creative energy. They're using our music. They're using our cultural ideas. And those are going into AI programs. And that's something we have to look at.
Rebuttal, Team PNP.
It's clear that there's no policy to deal with this. This is where we have to work with our CARICOM states to develop a common policy. Why? Because these are large multinationals. Their GDP would dwarf the entire Caribbean region. And so it requires some consensus among the region to ensure that you implement a policy which every country agrees to and that you can stand the test of time. We recognize the importance of our creatives. That's why we are establishing a $1 billion fund, not like the film fund that has disbursed zero, but a $1 billion fund for creatives, for artists or singers or potters, the people who create content so they can build their businesses.
Thank you. Social media, Moy.
On social media platform X, Sean from Kingston says, Free healthcare means little if hospitals don't have CT machines, x-rays, or even basic supplies. What short-term financial measures will you take within the first 2 years, if you win, to fix these shortages and ensure patients can actually access proper care?
Team PNP, you go first.
You know, I really wanted the Minister of Health to focus on these issues, but him seem more preoccupied with dealing with FinSac and other people business.
30 years
Because
ago.
if he spent more time dealing with Cornwall Regional, we wouldn't have a $25 billion overrun. If he spent more time dealing with the hospital sector, when people go there, they wouldn't have to sit on a wooden chair for 3 days. And when they have to do an MRI or CT scan, they have to pay $50,000 for go. And the same ambulance for take them have to pay for it too. And them can't get toilet paper in the hospital. Our health sector is failing despite the amount of money we have spent. It is the inefficiency of the Jamaica Labour Party why we are here. We are going to ensure the dignity of Jamaicans who have to traverse our public health system. They have been failed by this administration. And that is why we are committed to ensuring that monies which come into the coffers go for the benefit. So when we look on the drill and we drill down, it shouldn't cost $31 million for a $3 million drill. Because what does that do? When you go to the hospital, you have to pay now based on that wastage, that corruption, and that inefficiency. What can go so, Jamaica? How can you feel comfortable?
There are currently no CT scan or MRI services available at Mandeville Regional Hospital because the private providers have not been paid.
Time, Team JLP.
Well, let me just start by saying I wasn't the one in 2015 who said we had to use garbage bags as aprons or cut a soap in two. That is their spokesperson of health who spoke about the crisis in the system. So we have come a long way, and we started from a very low base. It is incorrect to say we don't have CT scan, just to say to your social media person. We have CT scans, we have MRIs. In fact, we have more digital machines in our health system than any time before. We need more, but we have done better than the PNP up to 2015 when they were there. Oh, I have more time. Let me also say, because I have a lot to say, that we have embarked on the largest expansion of hospital build-out than any other government since independence, the largest upgrading of health centers than any other government since independence. We have hired we have put in our establishment over 3,000 doctors and nurses, double the numbers of community health aides, and last year we served up 3 million prescriptions to Jamaicans on the National Health Fund. In their 2015 year, they did less than 1 million. The facts are that more Jamaicans are being served by our health system. Do we need to do more? I am the first to say yes, which is why we need the next term to complete the work that we are doing. They talk about the issue, they did nothing. As far as corruption is concerned, that's innuendos and talk.
Time,
no
thank
proof
you.
of that.
Time,
and I
thank you,
condemn
thank you,
them for
Mr.
that kind of
Tufton.
position.
Time. Thank you. Thank you. All right. We're at that segment at that point in the debate where we allow the teams to ask a question of the other. Yeah. So we're going to start with Team JLP posing a question to Team PNP.
Thank you. It is our considered view that the 3.5 million threshold increase that was recently announced is nothing but a Sam-Fi political scam. In the beginning, it was 2.1, then it became 3, then it disappeared, and then it appeared 1 week before an election. You have to tell the people of Jamaica, I ask you to tell the people of Jamaica, is this just an election scam, or is it that you are going to be cutting much needed services such as NHF, where we spend $19 billion for drugs in hospitals, or university spending, which is $17 billion? Tell us how you plan to really cut discretionary areas, as you have called them.
I answered the question already, but I'm going to answer it again for the Jamaican people. I have said we are going to raise the threshold to $3.5 million. How are we going to do that? We're going to do that because your budget says that $140 billion of additional government revenues will be earned over 3 years. But that is at your 1% growth, which you have no ambition on. We're going to grow the economy by more than that so that we can pay for these things. There's also a benefit when you put more money in the hands of people because they're going to spend it, which will allow the government to collect more on GCT and other indirect taxes. We are the party committed to ensuring that all Jamaicans thrive and not just a few. Our plan is better. It is more equitable. Their plan will benefit the richer people more. Ours will benefit the working people, our nurses, our policemen, the security guards, the civil servants, to put more money to ease the pressure of the cost of living that they have to face. That is our commitment as a party of social justice and equality. So when you talk about Samfire, what Samfire you're talking about? Madness you're talking about? We will deliver on behalf of the Jamaican people. We have a history of protecting our most vulnerable and ensuring that they have more money to spend so that they can protect their families and those around them.
Time. JLP, you have a 45-second rebuttal.
Jamaicans, the 3.5 million threshold is the largest political scam. They cannot tell you how they're going to fund it. They look at the current budget, they see the projections growing to 140 billion, but they don't tell you that expenses are also growing. So that's not available for you to use towards the 3.5. And you also put out an ad showing how much people are going to get on a monthly basis. You know that's a lie. They may get it for 1 month, but it's not going to be there. This 3.5 that you're talking about cannot be
Mrs.
done.
Williams, thank you. Time. Team PNP, your turn to pose a question to Team JLP.
How can you be trusted to keep promises when you've broken promises on impeachment legislation, unexplained wealth orders, term limits, grand referenda? You've attacked the Integrity Commission relentlessly. You've undermined them. You have even failed to sign the Code of Conduct, basic principles dealing with integrity, honesty, selflessness, and accountability. How can anybody take your word? How do they know that those candidates who are under investigation for illicit enrichment are not offering themselves out there right now to the public, secretly knowing that they are corrupt? The clock isn't working, by the way.
Oh, the clock isn't. Okay, I'm just going to still go ahead and answer that question. It's a very curious question because I know in the 90s when I became politically aware, I remember politics and scandals. I remember hearing light bulb scandal, fat cat scandal, and then the mother of all scandals, FinSac. When you look in your dictionary and you look for scandal, you see the PNP right there. In terms of the Integrity Commission, it is this administration that implemented it. It is this administration that puts $2 billion annually to it. It is this administration in our manifesto that says we're going to strengthen our corruption prevention mechanisms in this country. It is this administration that has delivered Jamaica's best anti-corruption score. And it's not us that said it. It is an international body, Transparency International. We have been the ones that have been taking Jamaica on the path of anti-corruption, not the PNP.
In addition to that, let me just say very clearly that the Jamaican people are concerned about their lives, their livelihood, their communities, and by extension, Jamaica. They talk, we deliver. We have delivered the lowest unemployment, the lowest poverty, reduced crime despite Peter's objection by over 40%, the lowest in 30 years. That is what is important to the people of Jamaica.
Mr. Tufton. Time, thank you. Team PNP, you have a 45-second rebuttal.
It's interesting that they say that people are concerned about their standard of living because they're talking about things that happened in the 90s That's over 30 years ago. Young people who are listening, does that affect your life now? Yet still, they're not speaking about the scandals that young people, anybody 25 years and younger, would have experienced what happened with rural reading education, to the point that education is behind. We are celebrating as a country five subjects being attained by 19% of our children. That's 1 in every 5. Is your child one of the 5 that is attaining 5 subjects? And if your child is not, what is happening to them? Our standards are too low. What happened to the used car scandal? What happened to Petrojam scandal? And I'm sure there are many others. Come on, man. 30 years ago, you're talking about.
Thank you, Mrs. Anderson. Thank you. Time. Okay. What we're going to do now is this. We're going to invite Team PNP to deliver a closing statement of 2 minutes in length.
Jamaica, the current macroeconomic figures look good, but what is your lived reality? What do you go through every single day? The reality you face is that you are living hand to mouth. You are working, but you can only afford to go to work and come back based on the wages that you earn. You are working poor. 55% of Jamaicans are considered food insecure, which means they cannot afford to eat a proper meal per day. If they go to the hospitals that Chris supposed to build, them can't find toilet paper or a bed. Jamaica, you deserve better. Time come for a better life. The next People's National Party administration will lift the tax threshold to 3.5 million, so we can put more money in the pockets of working Jamaicans. We are going to eliminate the tax on overtime so that, again, people can get a break. The same people who are working hard to build our economy. We are going to run a more efficient economy so that this thing called the Office of Plenty Ministries, that is a bottleneck where nothing can go through and it takes you a year to do something. We're going to eliminate those efficiencies so that we can grow the economy beyond 1%. We are going to ensure that anybody who is the first in their family gets a scholarship, and that means for persons who are currently at university. We are going to ensure that those who are buying a house get the $500,000 deposit. And I want to assure persons who earn over 3.5 million that this tax benefit is for you too. So what are we going to do? We're going to build a Jamaica in which all Jamaicans can feel a part of. So come September 3rd, when you go to the polling station, I want you to think carefully. I want you to use your head and put the X beside the head.
Time. Thank you. May I add that the order of the closing statement was predetermined by a coin toss. Team JLP, your 2 minutes.
My fellow Jamaicans, in 2016, you asked the Jamaica Labour Party, you gave them your vote of confidence to correct the ills within our economy caused by the People's National Party. They served 24 of 27 years and created more debt, more unemployment, more poverty than any other administration. Fast forward to today, 2025, we have the lowest poverty rate, we have the lowest unemployment rate, we have a macroeconomic stable society, we have more companies registering to start their business, we have crime that has been the monster of your business, your personal life, down the lowest in 30 years, all by the policies of this government. We still have some ways to go. Our hospital and health centers have embarked on the largest expansion and build out. They left it as a disaster. We have had to correct it. We ask you on September 3rd, give the Jamaica Labour Party the opportunity to continue the work. We have done more for you than any other administration, and certainly more than the PNP has ever done. They are now coming with a one-week plan, essentially, to get your vote by claiming 3.5 when they rejected our 1.5 when we started. They don't know how to get us there. We will get you there. We are about protecting yourselves, your families, your communities by doing what is necessary. That is all that matters. Their diversion around innuendos, rumors, targeting persons, and character assassination does not impact you in your community. It is about the water, the road, the health services, and this government has done more. On the 3rd of September, put your X beside the bell, vote for the Jamaica Labour Party.
Thank you. In the good spirit of the debates, we invite Team JLP and Team PNP to meet in the middle and shake hands. You can applaud. All right. That concludes that concludes the economy debate between Dana Morris Dixon, Favour Williams, and Christopher Tufton for Team Jamaica Labour Party, and Julian Robinson, Keisha Anderson, and Peter Bunting for Team PNP. Join us again Thursday, August 28, 9 p.m. sharp for the final debate in the 2025 General Election Debate Series, the Leaders Debate, featuring party leaders Dr. Andrew Holness from the JLP and Mark Golding from the PNP. Thanks for joining us. Thanks.
Okay. Well, that was it. That was it. That was it. Well, I'm just going to ask on TikTok just to start to say, because people like to say win. I tend not to like to say win in these things here, but TikTokers, you can say who win. On Facebook here, you can say who win. On YouTube, you can say who win also. What's your first review of this, Malik?
So when I thought the quality of the debate was rather good. All of the persons were respectful towards each other. They came across clear, articulate. I thought Al's questions were a tad long. It was more like he was giving a speech rather than just simply asking a straightforward question.
Who is that? Who is that?
Al. The gentleman was asking questions. It's Al, right?
Is he British? He sounds British.
It sounds that way. He sounds
like
that
they imported a British presenter or something
sounds
like
that way. And
yes.
the thing is, his questions were too long. You know, it was
Yes.
more like grandstanding. Just ask the question and let the people answer them. And in terms of if there was a player, a star player of the on a football match, I thought Julian Robinson gave a more concise summary than Tufton. And the way he dealt with questions was very relatable to us as Jamaicans. He spoke into the matters that affect us. I love the way the PNP were focusing on the public servants. You know, I have a genuine bias towards teachers, nurses, civil servants overall, because we, Silborn, have been the products of great teaching. And so it's time for certain professions to be genuinely respected and given the relevant financial compensation and tax breaks.
Yes.
On the matter of corruption, I thought the JLP gave a very classic rebuff, which was good because I felt that Bunting was going in a little bit too much on the whole corruption thing. And ultimately, both parties have clear evidence of situations, shall we say, that are questionable. And so who is less corrupt than who is not the issue for me as a voter. I want to know, how will you be putting money in my pocket? How will the amenities that I deserve be more accessible? And equally, how will my children be able to have a better experience in education, etc.? You know, bus fares going up, lunch money, etc. These are the things that affect so many Jamaicans. And so overall, I thought it was a very good debate.
You know what I was thinking when it comes on to corruption, for argument's sake, because if you notice with corruption, when that comes up all the while, one can always, the other side can always go back and say corruption there. The new one will say corruption here.
That's right.
But what I'm not hearing coming through is how can we deal with corruption eventually? So for argument's sake, if the people always say in Jamaica there's kickback effect, how can you deal with kickback effect? Some will say, okay, money come from IMF, money come from these places, money gone out in pocket. How can there be a sort of accountability of the money, following the money or so? That is something I believe is not coming through at all. And I think both sides need to put their hands up and say, corruption is in the place for all of us in a way, but how do we deal with that? And the bit whereby Tufton, when Julian, I think it was Julian or someone mentioned about the health factor, you could see that as not, that is like an elephant in the room where no one is dealing with that health. Maybe it's going to pick up on the prime minister in a couple of days time, but that health bit hit there is being sidestepped in a certain way at the same time. I do find that the debate was much better than the last one. I do see that Favor Clark, and I said it earlier, that she is a brilliant lady. There's no doubt about it, but she's not a good debater.
No.
And as someone said earlier, debates don't actually win. But actually, in a way, you and I know what happened in the debate where Nick Clegg came up on that platform and where Gordon Brown came up on that platform, and David came out and kept saying, I agree with Nick, because people were able to see. And then, so therefore, you're going to have these, what do you call them? The undecided.
Indeed.
And I'm sure these undecided is going to watch and say, let me see who I'm going to vote for. And they're going to make their decision based on tonight.
True.
You know?
You see, it all matters.
Yes.
It all matters. Whether it's social media, whether it's live debates, whether it's the manifesto, different people are attracted to, influenced by different platforms. And so every single time, I think it's important that the candidates understand that you must bring your A game to whatever platform you are on.
Yes.
And to that point, Silborn, one of the things that concerned me though, is that it must be Jamaica first, party second. This constant toing and froing, and you are less corrupt than me, I am doing more than you.
Yes.
There were very few glimpses of just straightforward policies for Jamaica. And I think that sometimes we get caught up in this, he said, she said, your party, my party, when ultimately we ought to be thinking about Jamaica 40, 50 years' time. How within this geopolitical space and this ever-evolving dynamic in world politics, where do we fit in as the great country we are? And this was something that I didn't hear coming through from either side. What is good for Jamaica moving forward? Not you right now as a politician. Go ahead.
And people, do you believe that or where do you believe, or where did you see, and I'll have to watch this all over again at the same time.
Definitely.
Who addressed the people of Jamaica? Do the people of Jamaica was like a side thing, or what is it? Is the debate for winning, or is it addressing the people of Jamaica? I'll give an example. When Nigel Farage trying to have a go at Dan Abbott, he has the figures. He has the figures himself, and he will say to Dan about what is the figures, and she said, oh, and he said, I know the figures. The point about it is that, are you trying to catch out, or are you trying to educate? Because Nigel Farage wanted to catch out Dan, yet he has the figures and he wanted to help. Do you believe that persons wanted to educate Jamaicans or wanted to win a debate?
I'll start with the JLP side. It would appear as though facts were very limited on the table.
Yes.
And Favor Williams was a clear example of that. Rather than counteracting things based on facts, it was more blindsiding and detracting. And then Tufton simply took the final, like in a relay race. He was the final one who took the last baton and took it over the line.
Yes.
I found that the PNP were able to be more relatable. For example, mentioning words such as social justice, party of the people. When Keisha did a very classic body language move of looking into the camera and asking the question, as I mentioned earlier, is your life better? When Julian Robinson was able to give practical examples, for instance, Mandeville Hospital, the cost of Cornwall Regional Hospital going up, the promises of new buildings coming through in the health sector, the PNP came across as more relatable for me as a Jamaican, giving me the understanding that you are thinking about my future and my children's future based on past performance. There were, however, elements of brilliance on the JLP side on the whole corruption issue, as I mentioned. And had Tufton not been there, I think it would have been an absolute landslide on the PNP side because Faval couldn't cope. And Dana was there and she counteracted Faval on 2 occasions, which I thought is something they need to look at because you can't have one team and 2 persons coming with different perspectives. The whole lies thing.
Yes.
There needs to be a consensus here moving forward.
There was something. Sorry, finish your point.
No, man, go ahead.
There was something though when it came on to the Integrity Commission section. I found that very interesting, whereby is it Peter Bunting or Julian Robinson was talking about the whole integrity bit.
Bunting.
Yeah, Bunting.
The PNP
and
wrestler.
then Dana Morrison Dixon said, we are the creatures of the whole thing. And I'm saying, yeah, but that doesn't put you in a good stead, whereby the prime minister is actually having a go, and all the different ministers, Chuck and all these team are saying, shut down that place there. They are PNPIs. And then you're sort of giving it that thumbs up to a certain extent. I would more want to say it and leave it. But she doubled down.
And
it's like she's not reading the room properly. Go on, yeah.
The question to the board is simple. 3 letters, 1 word. Why?
Yeah.
Why? You see, Jamaicans are not stupid people, right? We are very intelligent people. And sometimes when you try to avoid things, that is when it becomes at the forefront of the agenda. It is better to deal with things sometimes head first, answer the question.
Yes.
But this sidelining and distracting, it doesn't bode well. And one of the things that I'm asking myself now is why? Why would you deflect? What you have to hide? Why you don't just deal with it head on? He's called out various bodies. He's addressed certain things. Why not just deal with it?
Yes. It's very interesting. And would you give it a call? Would you give it a call as to the who win? Is that the right thing to say? Who win? People like to say who win? PNP win, JLP win. What would you say?
Yes, I would. Based on what we just experienced while watching this. And again, Silborn, thank you for the invitation. And of course, to all viewers and those who will be watching this on the playback, give thanks for your interest in Jamaican politics and for allowing your mind to be open to hear different perspectives. In terms of pound for pound, if this was using a fight analogy, I would say that dealing with issues that relate to me as a Jamaican, I felt as though the PNP addressed my concerns in this particular debate a tad better than the JLP did. For example, Julian Robinson was able to deal with issues head on. He had the facts. He came across very charismatic and he was relatable.
Very passionate at the same time. You could see a genuinity there. Yes.
Indeed. Right? And the reality is, Silborn, optics matter. Body language matters.
Yes.
Making it relatable, taking rather complex issues and making them relatable to me without patronizing my intelligence. This is where I know, based on tonight, that the PNP were able to make it more relatable to me. There was a lack of confidence on the side of the JLP with regards to Favor Williams' clear inability to portray the facts. She has them,
Yes.
but came across not as strong, for example, as Julian Robinson did. And this is not a gender thing either, not even a style
Yes.
thing. It's simply a matter of the lack of making it relatable to me. The clashes between Dana and her with regards to policies, and 2 occasions when I mentioned where they were on opposite sides of the fence, so to speak.
And they're on the same side.
But you're on the same side. But you're on the same side. That for me, as an observer, using intelligence, I saw the inconsistencies there. And so there was no point where the PNP broke ranks or clashed with each other. They held the party line all the way through, and they worked better as a team. There were moments, for example, there's a moment when Favor Williams, she answered the question, and then she physically turned over to Tufton as though it's a finance question. I've answered, but you carry it through. And that physical turning for me, the optics never looked good.
Yes.
And so this is why, in terms of purely on this debate, no other, it doesn't reflect anything to do with the election either. On this debate, if there was a winner, in my view, for those reasons, it would be the PNP side.
Okay, fair enough. And ladies and gentlemen, you can give your views, and we're going to wrap up very shortly. As personally speaking, and upon looking at it, the last time I could say very clearly it was a definite win for the PNP, as you can see that Matthew Samuda rose to the ranks and stood up. But at the same time, one thing I didn't say at the last time, one of the reasons why Mr. Samuda was given the headlight was because the others were dark. And therefore, sometimes you're in a classroom and sometimes someone look very bright, but actually because the others are dunce. I'm sorry to make it a bit very brutal like that. And that is where I believe that Mr. Samuda came up very strong, because the lights were dim on the others. In tonight, for argument's sake, you could there was a lack of cohesiveness with the JLP team. There's a lack of cohesiveness. They were awashed with information, and they should be awashed with information for 9 years. And someone said 2016 they started. When I heard that 2016, I said, you shouldn't have gone to 2016. You should have started 2020, because at 2016 now you're saying to people, now you're in from 2016 to 25. That's more than 9 years, Mal. Sorry, where is it? Where is it? Yeah, 20. Yeah. But nevertheless, still, I think I made a mistake right there. But nevertheless, still, in regards to Mr. Tufton, I believe they brought him in. I think they brought him in a way because he could be a possible leader. So therefore, he's one of a senior guy. I'd want to give it to an edge over to the PNP. And one of the reasons why as well is that I listened and I asked the question, who is actually talking to me? Who is actually talking to the people?
Exactly.
Who is talking to me? Who is trying to reach out to me?
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And I believe that especially Julian Robinson came out very, came across very passionate and very sure of what he was saying. And you could see he could go scriptless, if anything, because his heart in the whole thing. Keisha Anderson, she seemed like a new kid on the block. I call her a rising star, like how I call Sophie Fraser-Binns a rising star, because I think they position those persons strategically in a way.
Yes.
And you can see that she's a people's person.
Yeah, both have bright futures in the party.
Yeah. Bunting has been there for a long time, and I'm not going to say that Bunting did, strike a very strong card, but he played the good wingman.
And I think for comrades who were familiar with him, for example, when he was Minister of National Security and so on, and for that aspect of the PNP, he speaks to that old guard.
Yes.
Right? Keisha was able to look at the youth, the under 30s, to bring that vote in.
Yeah.
And Julian Robinson was able to balance the fiscal policy with relatability. And in that regard, it was a really effective tag team.
Yes, definitely. And as for the what's the lady name? She is a
Dana
minister.
Marston, Dr. Dana Marston.
I've watched her since she came on board, and I've watched her right through. And somehow, Malik, I sense she's just doing it because it's a job. I don't sense that passionately she even believes sometimes what she's actually saying. I think she's a nice person.
Well, the thing is, the mere fact that she had the nerve, I dare say, challenge Favour Williams in that way, your fellow team member, it didn't speak very well to a particular way of thinking.
Yeah.
And in terms of with politics, sadly, it is less about policy and more about personality.
Yes.
And I didn't feel her at all. It was more like an AI generated response to stuff.
Yes.
That doesn't bode well in dealing with the Jamaican public. However, the issue here, being fair to the JLP and to the PNP and looking at the debate overall, the under 30 vote right now, you have many persons who, if you're under 30, you came of age under a JLP administration.
Yes.
And so the razzmatazz of the clocks wearing relatability, the various, I saw where Massacre cut a dub plate recently for the JLP as well, right? On the PNP side, we know that the unruly man himself, Mr. Popcorn, is clearly a supporter. And Beanie Man was on the stage recently. This use of celebrity as well and popularity is something that, as I mentioned, it is less about policy and more about personality. And this is where it is still a very, very tight race. There's no guarantee either way. But based on tonight, I concur. The PNP at the edge. But who knows what will happen in 2 days' time?
Well, the big beast, the beast are on the 28th. Well, for us, is 1 day time, isn't it?
Indeed.
Yeah. That is Dr. Andrew Holness and Mark Golden will be dealing with all the different loose ends now, and to bring it home, bring the bacon home, if anything like that.
That's right.
As well. My name is Silburn Sidiel. Somebody asking me on TikTok here. I got near to 100 person on TikTok there.
Thank you for everybody for being with us,
Yes. And Malik, well, listen, I want to thank you so much for joining on the graveyard shift. Doppy walk on this time.
It's an honor, man. It's an honor. The rolling calf and hide behind him last night,
And show three matches stick behind your back or something.
Exactly. To keep the culture alive and the anecdotes alive.
Listen. Are you gonna be on by me saying this? I put you on the spot. Will you be on the 28th? Well, the 29th for the Prime Minister one.
Yes, sir. And works for you and the viewers, I will gladly oblige.
And will you be on the night? Because I've made up my mind that I'm going to go through on the 3rd, the 3rd of Wednesday, which is going to be, we're going to be talking about the 4th for 4 o'clock, because I think the results will start coming in by at least 12 o'clock, which is 12 o'clock. Yeah. In our time. Yeah. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock. So I might do another watch party based on that. I might even call it before Cliff Hughes. Cliff Hughes like to call these elections, and I might call election before Cliff Hughes.
Well, let's just say, Silburn, if it works with you, I'll check my agenda, and if it can happen, we make it happen, because this election is a very important one.
It is a very important one.
I think that even though for many of us we may not be into politics, but politics is surely into us. And what happens in Jamaica affects Jamaicans globally. We have much world, there's so much culture, music,
and athletics,
and we are much more than simply those performative areas. We're an intelligent, resilient people who have a high spirit and so much more to give the world. So this election is a very important one. And yes, provided it works with my schedule, I'd gladly oblige. And thank you, sir, for the invitation. And thank you.
No problem, no problem. And thank you also for all the persons who came on. As a matter of fact, even tomorrow night, today's the today's the 27th. I'm on some late shift, man. On the 27th,
10 to 5 in the morning now, you know.
Yeah, Advocates Network is doing a program. Not sure why you should vote. Join us online to discuss the people's agenda on Wednesday, August 27th, 6 to 8 p.m. This is they talk about undecided persons. There's going to be a thing with Jeanette Calder, Professor Rosalie Hamilton. Daniel also is going to be on as well. And I think I'm going to give a presentation as to every vote counts. And our issue with that. 6 votes, Reform won that seat. 6 dege votes.
Silborn, exactly. Right. And this is why it is critical. This first past the post system means that it's not about necessarily the party with a better policy. It's who can get more people at the polls. The level of apathy is concerning because in many ways, as we see now in the last election, it is a minority of Jamaicans relative to those who are eligible to vote who physically turned out. Then within that, as you mentioned, whichever one gets the most is the one that will win. And then those policies will impact you on a daily basis. So it is very important in that regard.
And the interesting thing is that the last election, one can call it a landslide because there was 40 something for PNP, for JLP, and 14 or so for the PNP. That's a landslide. But guess what the figures were? 408,000 for the JLP and 300 and something thousand for the PNP.
There you go.
37% of the electorate voted of 1.92 million. So therefore, 708,000 people voted at the last election.
And determined the policies for the next 4 years.
Exactly. And guess what? It was deemed to be a landslide when therefore it was just less than about 100,000 difference.
Indeed.
Yes.
Right?
And that is something that people have to.
That's why the under 30 vote is so important.
Yes.
This is why no matter how you may feel about either side, you need to go to the poll on September 3rd and actually vote because it matters. These policies of the few impact the many.
Yes. And there's a final one. Person need to understand as well, because they might say they're not interested, but you have to remember that you're going to have children who are going to be 16, 17, 18. And by the time the next election comes up, they all become adults. So therefore, you're actually, those who are saying, I'm not going to vote, have to recognize that there's a responsibility which is upon yourself for your children as well. So don't become very selfish and say, why them not talking to me? You got to think and you got to analyze it. So therefore, like when I saw some young people were saying, oh, they're not talking to me and blah, blah, blah. They need to engage. But I'm saying, hang on a student, young people, you're actually students. So you need to dig. You need to research.
Yes.
And get into it as much, get into the trench.
Yes.
Mike, we can go on further, but better call me.
Salute here, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thanks again to the viewers, and I appreciate the invitation. Most kind of you. And until the next time here, sir. Walk good here.
God bless. God bless. God bless.
Good.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining tonight on the discussion talking about the elections in Jamaica. We just had the second debate which took place, and the second debate was with Peter Bunting, Julian Robinson, Keisha. It was Keisha Anderson, and then there was Dr. Pavel Williams. You had Dr. Dana Morrison Dixon, yes, and then you had Dr. Christopher Tufton on the debate tonight. This Thursday night on the 28th, we're going to have the Prime Minister and Mr. Golden, Dr. Andrew Holness, and Mark Golden, which is going to have the final one before the election. So let's look out for that. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming. Thank you for those on TikTok. Thank you for those on Facebook. Thank you for those on YouTube. Thank you for those on Instagram. Much appreciated. And thank you very much. And peace out as well. And I'll just wrap up and say good night.